Marketing is just who might be interested in this thing. And a lot of it is the fundamental thing is if no one knows you exist, no one's going to be able to buy your thing. And so marketing is the process of attracting the attention of people who might be interested in the value that you're creating. And in an ideal world, making them curious, wanting to learn more, asking for additional information, engaging with what it is that you have. A lot of people conflate marketing and sales. To me, they're distinct processes. So marketing is the attracting attention and generating interest, and then sales is the process of convincing someone to buy and then getting them set up as a customer. And a lot of marketing comes down to what is it exactly that you're trying to gather attention for, and where do those people generally hang out? What are they curious about? What are they already paying attention to? What can you take advantage of or dovetail into in order to attract someone's attention at the right moment, at the right time, and make them aware that you have something that could benefit their life. Here's what it is. Here's how you can benefit from it.
To be great at marketing, do you think we need to understand the underlying psychological sort of core motivations of humans?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
And do you know what those are?
Yeah. There was a really great book about this published years ago called Drive by Paul Lawrence and Noria, who I think at the time was the dean of Harvard Business School. And they argued that humans have 4 fundamental drives. And if I can remember off the top of my head, the drive to acquire, the drive to bond, the drive to learn, and the drive to defend.
Is there a 5th? The drive to feel?
The drive to feel is my addition to this particular.
Addition.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, and to me, so the drive to acquire, let's go out and buy products, enhance my career, things like that. The drive to learn, gather knowledge, understand the world. The drive to bond, relationships, experiences. The drive to defend, let's protect myself, home security systems, all that thing. And for me, entertainment is very much a drive to feel. We don't go to the movies to do any of those previous 4 things. We go to the movies to have an experience, to feel emotions. And so to me, the vast majority of offers in the market are designed to hook into or to take advantage of one of those 5 core human drives. And the more drives that you hook into, generally, the more attractive the business offer is going to be. And so you could make a pretty straightforward argument that one of the reasons that social media has become so popular over the last decade is because it hooks into at least 4 out of 5 of these drives, potentially all 5.
So give me an example of a business and the drives that it's kind of playing to in its marketing strategy. So if we think about Nike, maybe?
Sure. Yeah. So the drive to acquire is straightforward. I need to put things on my feet. Shoes are great.
Mm-hmm. But it's also status.
It is status. So I would say there can be the acquiring status drive. There can also be very much in-group, out-group dynamics are a form of bonding, right? I'm the type of person who identify or who will wear this sort of thing. I form relationships with people who care about these sneakers, these special editions, these athletes, these whatever. Less learning, less defending. Feeling can very much be a part of a product experience. People who strongly identify with certain brands, certain lifestyles, certain ways of being in the world. When you put on something that makes you feel good, there can be an emotional component to that experience that's very, very strong.
It's interesting because I was thinking about Apple as well through that lens. Apple's a great example, obviously. So if we think about the drive to acquire, very much a status product, and it always has been. To bond, again, much of their advertising is about connecting people and connection. Sure. Learn, again, much of their marketing is about the fact that you can learn on these devices, like the iPad, for example. Defend, They talk about how encryption a lot and safety.
A huge focus on security and privacy right now for that reason. Yeah.
The drive to feel. I guess most of their marketing, when I think about the Vision Pro, where they weirdly show like the dad and his kids and he's got this massive headset on, I guess that was an attempt to arouse emotion. The Vision Pro now has this sort of spatial video where you can, you know, one of my team members, when they first put it on for the first time, remarked that they wish they had got spatial videos of their grandmother that's passed away but that's the kind of narrative that they show with the products, as well as that they really put at the heart in the marketing initiatives they do. So they really do a really good job at hitting all of these.
Yeah, I would say, do you remember the early iPod advertisements with like the white silhouette person dancing on a color? Those advertisements were straightforward feeling. 1,000 songs in your pocket. It's how the songs make you feel. This is a way that you can feel that more often or more strongly. It's pure emotion. And they specifically, so a more like straightforward drive to acquire on a technology product is like, how many gigabytes of storage does this thing have? And they made a deliberate decision not to talk about that at all because it didn't matter. People didn't care. It was all about, here's how you can feel through the experience of using this product to have an experience you wouldn't otherwise have.
I mean, this highlights a really important point about marketing, but building products and deciding what to build, which is how important is it to make something that is logically better versus something that is emotionally more compelling?
Yeah. In an ideal world, you do both. You can go a long, long way with emotion, even when you don't have straightforward, superior product benefits. Going back to our discussion of candles earlier, candles have been around for what, hundreds of years? Like, you're probably not going to make, barring material science advancements, you're probably not going to make a technical contribution to candle science in the process of making something.
Speak for yourself.
I mean, it's possible.
It's my next business idea, I told you.
Yeah. But like, things like the packaging and the marketing and the scent and the unboxing experience and the anticipation of putting it out as the centerpiece when all your friends come and all of that, like, there are so many emotional hooks to that sort of experience that you could argue that candles are sold almost all on emotion. And that's great. That's the value that's being delivered.
Do you know a better example of that I've came across recently is liquid death?
Oh, yeah. It's just water.
What?
Yes.
They built $1 billion business selling water in a fancy can.
Totally. And affiliation. Like, there's a little bit of a bonding, or I'm the type of person who wants to present to the world in this particular way. So I don't buy Fiji. I buy liquid death. Sure.
It's just water.
It's just water. Sometimes it's carbonated or flavored. But yeah,
come on.
It's just water.
I saw some I thought these stats might be out of date, but it was maybe last year or the year before I saw that they were selling $500 million of water. And they're like a fairly new market entrant in the grand scheme of things. And from what I can observe, it's just a different can.
Yeah. And the packaging matters. The affiliation matters. The story matters.
Why do you think they won?
I think they were first. So that's also... you talk about in your book the value of doing something big and crazy for the value of doing something big and crazy. I mean, they were the first to do something crazy on the marketing side for water. It was a really boring product category, very straightforward, very functional. And what their big insight was, the way that we talk about it, the way we package it, the way we present it matters. And there's a certain subsegment of customers that would not buy a straightforward bottle of water because they don't care. But if they can signal something about themselves or a group affiliation in some way, shape, or form through the packaging of the product, then to a certain subsegment of customers, that's valuable.
I've been thinking about this theory for a while, the last couple of months, maybe 6 months now, that brands need to, especially new market entrants in saturated, busy markets. Like if you're coming out with an energy drink right now, or you're coming out with a can of water, the easiest way to market in terms of marketing is if you do a really good job of making it clear that you are the antithesis of the incumbents.
Yes.
So you are a or, not an and in your customer's decision framework. And what I mean by that is, to be very specific, I've invested in a company called Perfect Ted. It's actually the drink in my cup right now. And in one of my first meetings with them, when we sat down, I said, this brand I think will win if the consumer walks down that supermarket aisle and thinks to themselves, I can be a insert incumbent energy drink brand or a Perfect Ted person. I can't possibly be both.
Right.
And we all know that, well, I think a Liquid Death customer doesn't believe they can be a Evian water customer.
Sure.
Because it's so clearly, they've stood for something so much so that in doing so, they stand against something. And this is what breakout brands have done. Brewdog is a good example in the UK. Brewdog came into the market, indie punk beer. They literally took Carling beers and stuff like that to Fields as part of their marketing and blew it up with dynamite to say, we are not commoditized beer. We are the antithesis. We are an or. You're either with them or you're with us.
Yep.
But that takes guts.
It does.
It takes balls, like Liquid Death had balls.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a whole, like on the psychological side of things, the studies about signaling and counter signaling. Like this is how fashion in the broad scale works. So all the cool people, high status, fashionable people start wearing a thing to signal group affiliation of like, we are the type of people who wear this.
Yeah.
And then very quickly you have follow on folks who are like, oh, the cool people are wearing this, I should start wearing this too. And that happens a couple generations until that thing is at Marks and Spencer, Target, choose your retailer. And then the people who want to distinguish themselves from all of the things that are being sold at the mass retailers will change fashions specifically to signal that we are not that. And so the cycle begins again. And so that's just like social signaling is a rabbit hole that you could spend decades going down and not get to the end of it. But it's all about who am I presenting myself to be in the world? Who do I affiliate with? Who do I not affiliate with? And counter signaling is noticing a signal that's happening out there in the world and making a deliberate decision to be the opposite of that or the antithesis of that in some ways. And that is such a fascinating part of human psychology that generally speaking, if you can, so you could say like Apple did a lot of counter signaling because Microsoft, some of the incumbent manufacturers, was their famous 1984 advertisement was almost pure counter signaling. It was almost pure emotion, and it set them up as the polar opposite to faceless beige computer box corporation. And so, yeah, like if there's something that is the prevailing trend in a certain industry, it can often pay to, in the anthropological sense, take a step back, notice what's going on, here's the signal that's being sent, and then make a deliberate decision to be the polar opposite of that.
It takes guts though, because there's no blueprint for the opposite.
Yeah, and you stand out. Yeah, which is great.
You get attacked.
Yeah, I mean that's the benefit of controversy too. So controversy can be a wonderful marketing tactic if you use it responsibly. And so you don't necessarily want to turn your business into a soap opera, but by deliberately courting a certain amount of controversy focused on the benefits or the features, you can attract a lot of attention that way.